do the jumping, let's go ahead in the blueprints folder, go to player, input, and let's go ahead and make an input action just like before. You can right click here, go to input and create an input action. And let's call this one jump. So inside of here, we don't really need to do anything. So let's close down the input action and let's go into the input mapping context instead. And let's minimize all of those so we can see what we're doing. And let's click on the plus up here and add the jump. So if you search for jump and you select the input action you just made. And as for the triggers, just like before, I am going to click on the plus here and I'm going to select the pressed. So whenever I press my, let's choose the space bar. So I can click here and click on the space bar. So whenever I click the space bar, this input action will be triggered. Now that this has been added, you can go ahead and click on save. Let's close it down and let's go over to the player base. So inside of the player base where we have all of our movement here in the event graph, you can right click and search for IA jump, and then you can select this jump event. And now for this jump event, what we want to do is simply drag from here and write jump. And then you can select this function called jump. Now, in order to make this work, actually, this is already working. As you can see here, we did all of this with the walking and with the crouching, but the jump in Unreal Engine is already replicated and in multiplayer. So you don't really need to do more than this. So you can see if I compile now and if I click on play and you can click on the space bar, you can see I'm jumping. Right now, the animation is not correct because we haven't set anything inside of the animation blueprint. But as you can see here, if I jump as the client, it works. And if I jump as the server, it works as well. So jump inside of Unreal Engine is already multiplayer, so you actually don't need to do more than this. However, just before we do this, I just want to make sure that the player can't spam the jump button when they are already in the jump. Because you can see here, if I drag from here and write print string, and it's already always nice to use a print string to debug so we can compile and click on play. You can see if I just spam my space button, I can spam the jump even though I'm in the air. So to fix this, just to make it more optimized, we can take this character movement component and we can drag from here and say is falling. And what that basically is basically telling if the player is in the air or not. So we can take this here, and now I'm going to say not B, so not B for not Boolean. So with this, what we're saying is we just want to jump whenever my character is not falling. This means that the character is not in the air, and therefore I want to jump. If the character is in the air, I don't want to jump. So we can drag from here and take this and make a branch, and we can drag this a bit away so we have more space to work with and connect it here. So what we're saying is if my character is not falling, meaning my character is not in a jump, we want to go ahead and jump. And if you compile and click on play and spam the jump button, actually let's write a print string here so you can see what's going on. And let's compile, save, and play. And if I spam my space button, you can see I can only spam it whenever I land on the ground. So it only triggers once. And this just makes the game more optimized. So just to make it a bit more clean here, what you can do, this is optional of course, but what you can do is you can hover over these nodes and you can right click and say collapse to a function. Now this function you can call, for example, f is not jumping. With this one, instead of making it with the inputs here, execution pins, this one is basically just getting information. So if you double click on this function here, if you double click on it and you go inside of it, and I'm just going to organize this a little bit, you can see we're just getting some information. We're not setting any new information. We're just getting if the player is falling or not. So instead of having these execution pins, this doesn't really make sense for functions that just get information. So we can click on the function and select pure. And pure just means this is a function that just gets information. We don't need to run it through the code because we're not really setting anything new. So here we can just drag them together. And now you're saying if the player is not jumping, you can go ahead and jump. You can see you can make things a bit more clean if you collapse them to functions. So you can go ahead and click on compile and play and just test it out. And everything is working on both the client and the server. And let's go ahead and do the animation blueprint.